You mentioned having someone who's not a lawyer do intake. I don't always see that at some firms. Why is that so important from your perspective? And also, just in general, when it comes to intake, like what have you noticed maybe is most important in intake to hit certain conversion rates? Like what are some best practices or most common areas that people get wrong with intake?
All right, so here's why I don't recommend lawyers doing intake. Okay, this is a typical lawyer intake. Okay, you were in an accident. Okay, you went to the hospital. Okay, when can you come in? Well, no, I don't have time to talk about your broken cell phone. When can you come in? I mean, that's all we care about. Whereas somebody, I don't have time. I mean, it's not that I don't care. It's a case. I want to sign it up. I want to move forward. Second is lawyers have a tendency to overanalyze cases and look for the faults and look for the reasons to decline them. We never think in, yes, no, black and white. So having a non-attorney do intake. I don't need an attorney to say that a rear end accident with injuries is a case that I want to sign up, right? My intake team, they can said, what is the key? The key is empathy. And lawyers, tend not to be the most empathetic. Now they can put on the veneer of empathy when they're in front of a jury, but their mind is running a million miles an hour. They're analyzing the facts of the case and everything. So my intake team, they take the time to listen and talk to the potential caller. Now, remember, I told you that we only sign up about 30% of the cases, which means 70% of the people we're declining. Maybe it's not a personal injury case. Maybe it's not a case that we handle. Maybe there's no liability. But my intake team is talking to every single one of them and spending a couple minutes on the phone. And guess what? Those 70% of the people that we decline are thankful. We get 5-star reviews from cases that we don't take, and they go into our database. We remarket to them, and I can't tell you the number of people that we have declined who have come back to us afterwards. So, my intake team, by taking a couple minutes and explaining, well, you know what, I really appreciate the fact that you called me, but because you hit the car, you rear-ended the car in front of you, we can't make a recovery, okay? It has to be someone else's fault. And, if you get rear-ended or if you get hurt at work or, please feel free to give us a call. We're here all the time to answer your questions. Lawyers don't have time to do that, to have those conversations. And then also, we have got intake screening criteria. So yes, non-attorneys can be trained to decide what cases that we take and which ones we don't. Now, we do have attorneys that are available at all times if an intake specialist doesn't know whether it's a case or not. They'll talk to one of our attorneys and decide whether to take it. Or if it's a very, very serious case, or if the client absolutely wants to talk to an attorney, yes, we have an attorney available. But and finally, intake is very, very easy to keep track of your metrics and your numbers. Notice I knew off the top of my head, out of every 100 leads, we're signing up 30, and we track our want rate. So for every lead that we have in, how many of them did we want? And then how many did we sign? That's the conversion rate. Then we look at how many cases did we sign that generated a fee. These are all really easy numbers to track. And when you have more than one intake person and you have enough data, I know that 30% is where we should be at. So if we have an intake specialist that's signing up 45% of the cases, we can look at that and say, I think you should be a little bit more careful about signing up some of these cases. Or if we've got someone who's signing up 20% of the cases, well, maybe you should be signing up a few more. And when you have enough data, you can come up with some pretty good numbers. If you're a med mal firm, your want ratio is probably under 5%. There are just not a lot of viable med mal cases. If you're a work comp firm, your want rate is probably much higher because they got hurt on the job, and that's a want. So that's my analysis. And then and this is maybe a good time to pivot to what we're doing with AI. So we record all of our phone calls and we transcribe them, and we've built out an AI system that analyzes each of those phone calls and grades each of those phone calls on empathy, on explaining things to the client, by explaining the contract, by not rushing them, and each intake call is graded. And then in real time, our AI is telling them suggestions on what would have made that phone call better.
That's
And
outstanding.
yeah, and we're doing this, now in real time. My goal is to have, the best intake team around, because that's the first impression that people get of your law firm is your intake. So we're looking at using technology in all these different ways, and intake is definitely a good place to start.
That's a really great point. And also just thinking about the metrics that you're describing, maybe if you can just double click on how you think about the use of technology to run your business, whether it be for metrics, for recording things, and technology can be AI technology or not technology. Like, how do you view sort of the operations of plaintiff firms 3 to 5 years from now, and how will sort of technology, do you think, change that, keep it the same, improve it?
Well,
What are your
Julian, three
thoughts?
to 5 years from now, I can't even tell you 6 months from now.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough.
Things are changing so quickly. It's evolving, in a pace that we've never seen before. And I've always been at the forefront of technology, and technology, to my mind, has been largely automation. Doing things internally, automated. If the process is always A, B, C, and D, well, let's get rid of B and C and get them done automatically. If something is done this way every single time, that's an automation. Whether it's templates, right? I mean, we rarely write a custom letter anymore. Everything is by templates, and they're all generated at certain times. So that's technology that's been around for a long time. That's what's gotten my firm to be able to be so efficient. But the technology that's coming out today is leapfrogging that. So most of the technological benefits over the last 5 or 10 years have all revolved around case management systems, and these are systems that help you run your practice. In my experience, not many people use their case management system to its fullest potential. You could use Microsoft or Google, for contacts, for your calendar, and for your documents. A case management system is so much more if you use it and if you build it out. So that's where technology has been. But where AI is now and where it's going is allowing, and I use AI in air quotes, but AI will be able to analyze your cases in real time and be able to tell you what needs to be done, and very soon we'll be able to do it. So, for example, if we send discovery out, let's go beyond the fact that AI already sends our discovery out. But once the discovery is out, and after 28 days, in a case management system, there would come a task. Follow up defense counsel. It's late. Well, with AI, those tasks go away. Is in your inbox is a letter to defense counsel saying that your discovery is overdue. It knows that it was overdue. It generated the letter, and the only thing you need to do with all AI is to proof it and send it. My thoughts on AI in terms of where it's going. we've been using case management systems for years, and they're very effective. But I think that AI is going to leapfrog case management systems, because AI is going to know what to do without you having to program it and to create these processes within the case management system. And you're literally going to have a data repository that your AI is going to access and give you exactly what you need when you need it. The technology's not there yet, but there are a lot of companies, yourself included, that are really pushing the envelope in trying to get there with AI.
It sounds like what you're describing, and I totally agree with you. Not just in law, but across all industries, really, is this shift from I sort of describe it as moving from an era of software as a service to service as software, where the software is now doing work instead of just being sort of the repository of the work and the data. That's kind of what you're describing, right? Is like that it's now autonomously figuring out what to do and maybe drafting an action and asking you to double check it or whatever it might be. I won't just say AI, I'll just say as technology moves towards greater and greater execution of work, accuracy matters, right? Doing work, AI executing work in the context of a law firm, accuracy matters a lot. Just curious if you have any thoughts or learnings in based on everything you've adopted, everything you've done in terms of using new products where AI is executing work just to make sure it's accurate. Like, how do you think about this in terms of like, just adopting this technology in such a way to make sure it is of high quality and, isn't making errors? Kind of curious how you think about that.
The best practices for AI all revolve around data integrity, okay, and what data the AI system is accessing. And almost all of our systems are entirely enclosed within my environment, and I know that my environment is pristine data. So they talk about hallucinations and case law. I would never use AI to write a brief, especially without checking it. But guess what? We've got 25 years worth of legal briefs that we've done. Well, that's our database. Okay, because we wrote those briefs the old-fashioned way, and now we can, have AI access them, take the facts of our case that we're working on, use our database of all of our briefs that we've done in the past to do a first draft, and it's great. The problems that you run into is that by the simple nature of an LLM, or a large language model, is it's predictive. It's predicting what you want. And that's where the possibility of hallucinations comes in. But if you lock down the data that you're using and that you're allowing the LLM to access, you're going to get much better results. And that's what we've been focusing on for the last year and a half, 2 years.